Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Warcry 2.0. This time with Arcanites of Tzeentch. Or is it Tzeentch Arcanites? I don't know. Doesn't matter much. It's the Tzeentch mortal followers anyways. So, one way or the other, let's have a look at the models first, then we'll talk about their points values and their abilities, and last but not least check out a list for them. So, right off the bat, we don't have any new unit options. It's all leaders. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. They had quite a good bunch of unit options already. So, first off, we got the Fate Master. He's 250 points. Movement 10, toughness 4, and 25 wounds, which is a good profile. The 25 wounds is on the low-ish end for high movement flying guys. He has a range of 2, strength 4, 4 attack, strength 4, 2, 5 damage for 6 points of damage on average. Also guys, you'll notice that my average damages have slightly changed, ever so slightly, because, well, someone was pointing out to me that really I should be doing my formula with correct values and not estimates, which I did before. Instead of 1 and 6, I put 17% and so on. Doesn't really make a big difference, but hey, there might be 1 or 2 instances where there's a 0.1 difference in damage per action. So anyways, he deals 6 damage per action, which is pretty serious damage output. However, if you look at this guy and compare him to the Enlightened Aviarch on disc, the Enlightened Aviarch is 10 points more expensive, has 5 more wounds though, and 5 attacks compared to 4 attacks, which puts him at 6.7 damage on average, which is just better than the Fate Master. So yeah, just comparing their profiles, I like the Enlightened on disc much better, but we'll see what difference this makes. The Fate Master does have his own ability, which might play a role here. Then we got the Magister on disc, and we'll talk about the Magister as well, I guess. No, probably not. The Magister on disc, he's 285 points, so a lot more expensive than the Fate Master. Has the same 10 movement, toughness 4, and 25 wounds. He gets 1 inch range, 4 attack, strength 4, 2, 4 damage. This is an attack profile most of the disc models have, which is basically the disc itself attacking instead of the model on top. He also has a ranged attack, a casting ranged attack for 3.1 damage on average. However, I think him being a flying model that's relatively tough and has good melee damage output at 5.3, it's more likely for him to be in melee than in ranged, which again is why I didn't put the range profile as his main. Then we got the Magister, he's 190 points, a lot cheaper, but that's because he doesn't ride a disc, so he's movement 4, toughness 3 and 22 wounds, so a lot more squishy, a lot slower. For him I put the magic attack down, which is, well, 10 inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, 6 damage, so it's just like normal magic missiles, but it does have 10 inch range instead of 7, so he's slightly better than the average mage. And that's the same magic attack basically for all of these hero options here, so every one of the new heroes apart from the Fate Master got that same magic attack. His melee damage is just as bad, it's also a 3 damage in melee, so the Magister is probably gonna be more of a ranged poking character than a melee one. Then we got the Sangor Shaman. He's 295 points, which is very expensive. He has a 10 inch move, toughness 4, 30 wounds. Oh, he's quite survivable. A range of 1 for attack, strength 4, 2, 4 damage. As I said, that's basically the disc attacking again. And then he has a the same ranged magic attack. So, yeah. I don't know why he's 10 points more expensive than the Magister because he gets 5 extra health. Then we got the Ogroid Turbocharge. He is quite interesting. He's 265 points, which is still very expensive, but he doesn't get the high movement, of course. He's movement 4, toughness 4, 32 wounds, so pretty survivable, this guy. It's a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 5, 2, 5 damage for 7.3 damage on average. Also gets the magic missile ranged attack, but obviously you want him to get into melee because that's where he is going to deal the big damage. Yeah, pretty cool model somehow. Then we got the Gaunt Summoner on disc and the normal Gaunt Summoner. The Gaunt Summoner on disc costs 295 points, just like the Tzeentch Shaman. Has a 10-inch move, toughness 4, 28 wounds. So slightly less than the Shaman there. 1-inch range, 4 attacks, strength 4 to 4. That's again the disc attack for 5.3 damage on average, and he gets the ranged attack. So you can see many of these guys on disc with their ranged magic attacks are very similar. Then we got the Gaunt Summoner. He's on foot, of course, 195 points, movement 4, toughness 3, 22 wounds. We seem to be getting the same profiles again for the Magister and the Gaunt Summoner. He also has that same magic missile attack and the same melee attack that the Magister has, so exactly the same models. They do have different abilities, I believe, but for some reason the Gaunt Summoner is 5 points more expensive than the Magister. Last but not least, we got the Curseling, 260 points. Rather expensive for a model that doesn't fly and have 10-inch move. He's 4-inch move, toughness 5 though, 28 wounds, so relatively tough to kill, this guy. Has a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2, 5 damage, for 6 damage on average. So, the Curseling is certainly powerful in melee, but he's no more powerful than the Fate Master is. And the Fate Master can fly, and he gets 10 points, you get him 10 points more cheaper. Or really you should compare him to the Enlightened disc on Aviarch on disc. So yeah, not quite sure. I think the Curselings might be overpriced. Let's have a look then at the point values. So as we can see, none of these guys are great point value, with the exception of the Ogroid Turbocharge, who actually does a lot of damage. But all of the others, they are relatively low damage output, and that's a combination of two reasons. Firstly, a big majority, so the Fate Master, the Magister on disc, the Tzeentch Shaman, the Gaunt Summoner on disc, all of these can fly. So obviously you're paying a big bunch of their points for flying and movement 10, which will then obviously make them worse damage per point value. And the guys on foot, they only have magic missiles, but that's also a problem for most of the others, because you're always paying extra for the ability to cast a rather shitty magic missile instead of getting stuck in combat. Which really, like someone like the Ogroid, he doesn't really need that. You want him to move up the field and get into the thick of things anyways, rather than shooting something with a magic missile. But yeah, that's what we got anyways. So let's have a look at the abilities then. Maybe there's something cool about that. So we got a double for every one of them, which is adding half the value to the strength of the next attack action. I'm pretty sure that's a new one. It's the same that all of the Tzeentch demons have, but obviously it makes sense on all of your leaders here, because all of them basically get that bad magic missile attack, and yeah, buffing that to strength 5, for example, really makes a lot of sense, because then suddenly you're hitting on 3s on 2 dice, so that's definitely a lot better than the normal strength 3. So yeah, that can be quite useful, I think. If you're running one of those magic missile leaders, I think that can be quite useful. Then we got a double for the Ogroid, and this is a really cool one. Basically, once he's taken 15 wounds, you can use this double to add 1 to his attacks characteristic in melee, for melee attacks only, but for the rest of the game. So this might be one of those instances where you take a wait action, activate this ability, so you're upping your attacks by 1 already, and then activate him next turn using the double again. Now you're up 2 attacks, so on 6 attacks already. At this point you can attack, of course, with him, or move up, or whatever. But then if you do get another action next turn, you can bump that up again. And then you'll be attacking twice, of course, because that's gonna be because he's gonna be on his last legs at that point probably, but still, there's a big amount of potential out of this ability. I think that is very sexy, and it makes people really having to think about either not damaging the Ogroid or blasting him down all at once, but you can't really afford to allow him to stick around once he's taken some damage. That's when he gets really dangerous, so cool ability there. Then we got a triple for all the leaders that you might as well ignore. It's not going to be a thing, which is add the value of this ability to the value of all abilities to all friendly units within 12 inches. But it's also to a maximum of 6. So you can't buff your abilities over a maximum of 6. Most abilities don't require a maximum, a value. On top of that, it's a triple, so usually you're not gonna have more than 1 triple per battle round available to you. So if you use this, really all you can do is buff the value of some double or 2 doubles that are gonna be used that battle round. And I just don't see much value in that at all, I'm sorry. So I think that's a horrible triple, yeah. Then we got a triple for the Gaunt Summoner. So that's both for the disc and the non-disc version. He can basically pick one enemy within 1 inch of him and roll a number of dice equal to the value. Each 2 to 5 is 1 damage and each 6 is 3 damage. It's not great. Yes, it's probably gonna do about damage equal to value, so it's another way to write that. It's a little more luck based, but it's about damage equal to value. It's not horrible for a triple, but really it's not what you want out of your leader ability, in my opinion. And then we got a triple for the Fate Master, which is certainly the most interesting out of the bunch, which is add 1 to melee attacks characteristic for friendly units within 9 inches of you. That is a big bubble, it's only a triple. Pretty good ability there. Really good ability, actually. So that explains why the Fate Master has worse stats than the Enlightened Aviarch, because his ability is really crazy good. Now, let's have a look at what kind of list you would bring then. So, I would definitely go Fate Master, because I think the Fate Master is gonna be really good. That ability, as I said, that triple, that's a big buff. Then I'd run 2 Acolytes with Scrolls, because they put out some serious range damage. 5.3 is just so much damage at range. I'd get 1 Zangor Mutant, 3 Great Swords, and 1 Paired Sword. The reason being, of course, the Great Swords are the best, but they are quite pricey, and the Mutants are also good damage value, as are the Paired Swords. Actually, they aren't quite as good, I think. Yeah, they aren't quite as good, but they are cheap as well. So all of them are decent choices. I wanted to have as many Great Swords as possible, but 8 models seems pretty good here. Because what I would do is run 3 Great Swords and the Fate Master in 1 battle group, so he can really buff all of those guys. They get 3 attacks only per model, but they are strength 4, 2, 5 damage. So if you can buff up all of their attacks characteristics by 1, it's gonna make them very, very dangerous. Put them up to 6 damage on average. For a 105 point model, that's normally leader type damage. Crazy good. So if you run them with the Fate Master, that's gonna put you in a great spot. And then, yeah, have the paired sword and the mutant each pair up with one acolyte with scroll and have them in the other 2 battle groups, which is also cool because wherever you come in on the board, you're gonna have an impact right away with the acolytes with scrolls. 10-inch range is pretty solid. So yeah, that's what I would run there, and I think that's gonna be a very solid warband. However, there's definitely other things you can do. I did think about bringing the Ogroid Turbocharge because he's also really nice. So if you want that one big bruiser in your warband, which is a valid tactic, then bringing in Ogroid Turbocharge is definitely worth thinking about. And of course, you could also argue that having another Enlightened, or Skyfire for that matter, would also be very beneficial. So if you wanted to and said, hey, 7 models is enough if I get another good flying model on top, well, you could drop one of the great swords, for example, and one of the scrolls and get yourself a Skyfire. That would also make a very good warband. Kind of up to you. As always, I think you need to play around with lists, see what's good. I think I've given you some very good basics here for how to build your list, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next one. This is Rito signing out.